I would like to thank everyone, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Colonial School Board of Directors for Thursday, November 19th. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to announce that the board met in executive session on November 2nd to discuss personnel issues and school safety. The meeting lasted about 1 hour. We also met in executive session on November 9th to discuss substitutes, contracted services, upcoming administrative transitions, and the COVID pandemic's impact on the district. That meeting lasted approximately 40 minutes. We also met this evening prior to this meeting and reviewed this month's personnel report, special education contracts, agreements in lieu of FAPE, litigation, and real estate assessment appeals. The meeting lasted about 1 hour. I'd like someone to please make a motion for the approval of minutes of the FMT committee meeting of October 5th, the Finance Committee meeting of October 5th, Board Business meeting October 15th, Facilities Management and Transportation Committee meeting of December 2nd, Finance Committee meeting of December 2nd, Community Relations, Student Life, Safety and Wellness meeting of November 9th, and the curriculum meeting of November 9th. If someone would make a motion, please. Beth Petruno, is there a second?
Second.
Eunice, thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. I have a motion to approve financial reports presented in items 4B through 4M for October, which include food service bills, cafeteria reports, outstanding investment report, cash flow summary, comparison of taxes collected, real estate tax escrow report, trust fund report, reconciliation of cash accounts, budgetary deficit status report, general fund federal program bills, capital reserve fund, bond fund, budget transfers, and also the October 2020 treasurer's report. Is there a motion to approve those items?
Chris Epstein makes a motion.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Kathy Peduzzi.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. This is the time on the agenda for public comments on items on tonight's agenda. Do we have anyone waiting or any emailed in questions, Dave or Drew?
Nothing on email.
No hands being raised.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Christian, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Before the superintendent's report, as it relates to personnel, I would like to make some comments regarding the Montgomery County Board of Health, as well as Colonial's response to the COVID-19 pandemic as we've transitioned into a hybrid model since October 19th. So please bear with me. This is being recorded, plus I will send this out as a district-wide communication tomorrow to all of our families. The Montgomery County Board of Health issued an order for all Montgomery County schools, public and private, to provide fully remote learning from November 23rd to December 6th, 2020. The Colonial School District will adhere to this requirement, and I informed families of that last Friday. All students will be provided remote instruction during this time. Yesterday, a complaint was filed in Montgomery County challenging this order. Colonial will abide by the outcome of the litigation. A hearing is set for tomorrow, but we will also continue to monitor the impact of COVID-19 on our schools. At this time, our K K-12 instruction will be all virtual for students for the next 2 weeks. I also have some important updates concerning the virus and its impact on the Colonial community. As of Friday, November 12th, Montgomery County's positivity rate was 7.2%, and the incidence rate per 100,000 people was 181.4. This puts our county in the moderate range for positivity and the substantial range for the incidence rate. The county has also shared district and municipality-specific data with us. As of November 5th, the Colonial School District, our district data, had a positivity rate of 4.3%, which is in the low range, and an incident rate of 99.4, which is barely in the moderate range. As of November 12th, the positivity rate increased to 6.5%, which is moderate, and the incident rate to 148, which is substantial. These increases are undoubtedly concerning. However, we must consider what we've done well thus far. We've limited ridership on our buses. We have implemented a hybrid model that emphasizes safety with 6-foot social distancing, mask wearing, and thorough cleaning throughout the day and in the evenings. Our faculty and support staff and principals have been outstanding. The kids, even more so, have been outstanding during this difficult ordeal. All that said, since our return on October 19th, we have had 23 cases reported to us, 23 positive COVID-19 cases. We've posted those cases on our dashboard and on our website under the COVID-19 tab. County contact tracers have noted the impact of our mitigation efforts. Until this past week, county officials have believed that positive cases in students and staff are the result of community spread and not in-school transmission. However, this past Tuesday, the County Office of Public Health informed school districts that it's become increasingly difficult to differentiate between the two because of the drastic and rapid increase in positive cases. On November 9th, last week, the Pennsylvania Department of Education recommended, but did not require, school districts that have 2 consecutive weeks in the substantial range move to a full remote model. Previously, the recommendation was focused on the most recent 7 days, which we included in some of our earlier communications. We will modify our documents accordingly, but PDE stresses that this is a recommendation, not a requirement, and it is a local decision. PDE also encouraged school districts to consider the data within its local communities when choosing its instructional model and not just countywide data. As we learn more about the virus, we also are learning that the guidelines continue to evolve. My goal is to resume classes on December 7th. The Board of Directors will meet again on December 1st for its reorganization meeting, as well as a special meeting to discuss the most recent COVID-19 data and our ability to reopen. None of our decisions about these issues are made lightly. Finally, we must do our part to stay healthy by following all virus mitigation guidelines regarding social gatherings and recreational events. It is essential that parents and guardians keep students home when they are sick and exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms. If a child or someone in your household has been tested and is awaiting results, please contact your child's school and remain home. We certainly appreciate your support and thank you for your patience during this challenging school year. Once again, I'll send this out to our community. I know we have some people watching on YouTube and some participating via Zoom, but we'll send a district-wide communication tomorrow to the rest of our folks. Superintendent's report. Approval is motion to approve the personnel report and extracurricular contracts as outlined in 7B and 7C. Board action is requested for the recommended personnel changes. Appointments for promotion, employment, or transfer are subject to the presentation of valid credentials, employment verification documentation, and state mandated requirements.
So moved. That's Touchland.
We have Sue.
Need a second?
Is there a second?
Rosemary?
Susan Peduzzi? Thank you. Any questions or comments on tonight's superintendent's report?
I would like to take a moment on the personnel report. We have the retirement of Mr. Dave Sherman, who has been our communications coordinator and quite frankly, jack of all trades. He does the night school, He does a lot of different things for the school district, works with the Ed Foundation, big supporter of Colonial. We certainly, Dave, we wish you the best in your retirement as you start the next chapter. And I'd like to invite the board to make any comments that they may have at this time.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I have something I would like to share. With experience working in public relations and communications for Sinus and the Patriot League, Dave Sherman came to Colonial 20 and a half years ago. At that time, the district had no website and no comprehensive communications plan. Dave built the first website and began to increase the district's outreach to families in the community with an expanded annual report, a detailed calendar, newsletters, a district presence at local events, and much more. Dave oversaw the operation of the Colonial Adult Evening School. He added a winter concert, spring matinee, and luncheons to the Gold Card benefits offered to the senior citizens living in our district. Over 500 senior residents enjoyed the 2019 spring event. Dave served as the district's right to know officer, the secretary for the school board of directors, and a staff advisor and secretary for the Community Relations and Student Life, Safety, and Wellness Committee. Working together with Kim Newell for the last 16 plus years, he has celebrated the myriad accomplishments of students, staff, and families in academics, sports, competitions of all kinds, community service projects, and on and on. Dave said that spreading the good news about the Colonial School District has been easy, that Colonial has been ahead of the curve in many areas in terms of leadership, the dedication of staff, the work of the school board. He has found that the residents of Conshohocken, Plymouth, and Whitemarsh value and support the quality public education provided by the district. Now, Dave is looking forward to what he calls rustling water therapy, enjoying the sounds of birds and running water while he fly fishes. He may even begin to tie his own flies again, a skill he learned from his maternal grandfather. We thank you, Dave. Here's to health and happiness in the days ahead.
I would just like to add, thank you, Rosemary. That was great. Dave, you've been here as long as I have or longer, and it's not going to be the same when we go to the township days and you're not manning the Colonial booth and doing the job of board secretary and just being there to answer all of my questions. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I hope you enjoy the sunshine of Florida, fishing, watching lots of baseball, and just have a great time. Enjoy yourself. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Also, I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge we discussed Dr. Rodriguez's retirement last month, and we certainly continue to wish her well. In attendance tonight, we have Mrs. Michelle O'Reilly, and Ms. O'Reilly will be joining us in December. So there'll be a transition period where she gets to work with Dr. Rodriguez, and she was just approved as our new HR director. So welcome, Michelle, and welcome to the Colonial family.
And on that note, I assume, Leticia, you will be at our January meeting since you are staying, but in case something happens, we don't have one, or you're not there, I just want to say what an absolute joy it's been to work with you. I don't think there's an HR question that you don't know the answer to, and it's always been such an incredibly reassuring thing to know how well we're represented in our HR department. And thank you for your professionalism and everything you've brought to Colonial as well. Okay, anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Dave, we have a motion and a second, don't we? Any other comments? All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. Student rep reports. Which one of you is starting?
I'll be starting. I would just like to also, Mr. Sherman, me and Drew sat next to you our junior year. We had no clue what you wrote to us, but we eventually got the point. You gave us a good start. Someone we got to know on the board. I'll be starting off with White Marsh Elementary. October was National Bully Prevention Month. School counselors and teachers help students learn to recognize bullying behaviors, diverse strategies for standing up to bullies, and realizing they need to ask for adult help. The social and emotional needs of students were being considered as students return to the school in a hybrid and virtual environment. Grades 1 through 3 completed the fall assessments in language arts, math, and word study. The kindergarten team participated in virtual junior firefighter marshal program October 21st when fire drills took place. The virtual PTO meeting took place on October 14th. The PTO donated pre-made scarecrows that represented staff, which they placed around the school. Each scarecrow displayed a positive message for each teacher. A thank you to Miss Titor. Sorry if I butchered the name. Red Ribbons virtual celebration took place on October 26th to October 30th. Red Ribbons Day focuses on positive choices and how to stay healthy. On October 31st, the PTO sponsored a virtual Halloween magic show with Brian Richards. This was a fun virtual magic show for all students and staff featuring non-scary magic. I will also be moving on to Ridge Park Elementary. Through the support of our technology teacher, Dave Carso, Ridge Park staff continue to build their experience in delivering instruction through Google Classroom and Zoom with monthly tech meetings for the staff. Meetings are directly driven by the needs and wants of teachers. Staff and students and families enjoyed virtual fall festivities on October 30th. Students dressed in costumes and enjoyed a variety of activities. Many thanks to the Action Karate for donating their time by providing karate sessions to all students on Friday afternoon in October. Another thank you to the Ridge Park PTO for purchasing boom cards for all teachers. Teachers are able to utilize the cards to enhance instructions, and students are enjoying them to hone in their skills in content areas. They are fun, meaningful ways for students to learn.
Moving along to Plymouth Elementary. On Friday, October 23rd, students participated in a virtual assembly, the Conservation Caper, presented by the National Theater for Children and Pico Energy. This live stream presentation was designed to teach students about energy and ways to conserve it. Students' activity books were provided to our hybrid and virtual families following the assembly. On Friday, October 30th, students were invited to come to the morning meeting in their costume and participate in optional virtual assemblies. Spooktacular Halloween that afternoon. The assembly featured a magic show which incorporated messages about Halloween safety and lessons of perseverance.
All right, moving on to Conshohocken Elementary. The Climate Committee developed a plan that would support funds received from the Morgan Stanley Foundation to improve the aesthetics of Colonial Elementary. Finalized this month are updating the Coyote logo and banners in the front lobby to welcome all students and staff. The enhancements are created for a positive impact on the school culture. The Colonial Elementary staff, led by Lisa Watkins and Jennifer Walls, are planned activities in November to honor Veterans Day and American Education Week. In October, the third grade students launched the morning news that will be virtually filmed and shared at the morning meetings. They concluded National Hispanic Heritage Month by sharing a cookbook that contains our family recipes. On October 19th, Colonial Elementary had its first virtual assembly that was called The Principles of Hip Hop, Peace, Love, and Unity, and Having Fun. The message during the assembly was to inspire positive change in young people through an exploration of roots in hip hop culture and the hip hop fundamentals. The performance focuses on youth empowerment, creativity, and working together. Students had a blast. The PTO were busy supporting the school during the month of October. They held a Joe Corby fundraiser and a virtual Scholastic book fair.
Next up is Colonial Elementary. 4th and 5th grade students were welcomed back to school for in-person learning using our hybrid model on October 19th and 20th. The students were so excited to be back. They wore and continue to wear their masks and abide by social distancing recommendations. All fifth grade students were given brand new Chromebooks that they will continue to use for the next 4 years. There was also a device exchange for all fourth grade students. All students are now using the same type of device. Students with ThinkPads exchange their devices for Chromebooks. All student materials have been updated through January and distributed to the entire student body. Veterans Day was paid special homage during morning meetings on Wednesday, November 11th. The American Education Week is November 16th through November 20th. The staff and students will be celebrating education through the week with spirit days, such as wearing Philly gear, college sweatshirts, and wearing exercise clothes to exercise our brains. Also, the school will be engaging in a read aloud and discussion based on the book Speak Up, which emphasizes speaking up for what is right. CES also has some special projects in store. Their PTO is in the midst of their Charleston Wrap fundraiser, which runs for 2 weeks. All students were invited to wear their Halloween costumes during virtual learning on Friday, October 30th. The staff was also dressed up to make this unprecedented Halloween fun for all students. This is also a reminder that the next virtual PTO meeting is Tuesday, November 17th at 11 o'clock. Everyone is welcomed.
We're going to be moving directly to Plymouth White Marsh High School. So for this meeting, we changed it up. We're dividing the report into all 4 of the classes, along with the athletics and the yearbook. So we're going to be starting off with the class of 2021, which is the senior class. They're currently working on making sure all seniors are up to date on their payments for the class trip and ensuring the Disney trip is enjoyable for all students. Moving on to the class of 2022, which is the junior class. Officers are keeping an open line with all students during the difficult time by creating new and improved Instagram pages, as well as a class of 2022 store linked to the class canvas page. Moving on to the sophomore class, with financial support of the PTSO, the class of 2023 was able to order class-specific face mask and mask carriers for every sophomore. The class officers stuffed and labeled almost 400 envelopes. Moving on to the freshman class, they were holding elections during bonus block. They will be held virtually during Zoom for all students to participate. They will be voting on a class president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, and 2 coordinators to help organize the class. They also held their first class apparel sale, which students and families purchased gear of 2024 gear. T-shirts and face masks were purchased with some love from the PW freshmen. Distribution will be occurring in the near future.
Now time for some PW athletics. The PW field hockey team had another successful season with a final record of 13-1. The team received the number 3 seed in the district playoffs and won 3 one-goal games to advance to the District 1 championship game, where they lost in overtime 1-0. The team outscored their opponents 77-12 and won the Suburban 1 Liberty Division title. Despite the abbreviated season, the team was grateful for the opportunity to compete and play at a high level throughout the season. Lastly, the yearbook. Typically, the yearbook is published in April with spring sports/graduation available as a supplement with the yearbook. This yearbook will be a little bit different and will include everything through June, and distribution will take place in the summer. In terms of Minithon, the students have organized a flocking fundraiser, essentially place a flock of 20 lawn flamingos that we place on the lawns of PW families. Those families in turn donate money to the cause and then nominate the person to receive a flock. It's been one of the most successful fundraisers. Along with this, they are working on swag, which includes sunglasses, drawstring bags, car stickers, and much more. Keep a lookout for all that. And this is the conclusion of our November student report. Thank you for all of your times.
Thank you both for a great report. We're moving on to new business, the financial audit approval. Adam?
Yes, this is item A under new business. This is a motion to accept and approve the audit report for the 2019-2020 fiscal year as presented, and approval to submit the PDE 2057 annual financial report to PDE. And that is a motion.
Is there a second? Rosemary, are there any questions or comments on the audit?
Dave, do you want to just walk through the highlights of the audit of the last fiscal year?
Well, that's why we pay our auditor, Carl Hogan. I asked him to be here tonight. He's going to give us a 10,000-foot overview of the financial audit. And once these are approved tonight, the audit will be finalized, and we will post that on the website. We will also distribute it to all the entities that have a vested interest in monitoring our financial statement. So, Carl, we talked about this at the Finance Committee meeting in depth. Why don't you just give us a 10,000-foot overview of how the audit went this year and the bottom line of financial results?
Yep. I can do that. No complaints here. So like Dave said, we've already met with the audit committee. We've met with the finance committee. We've kind of gone through the audit report in detail. So just for everybody's benefit, it's a 70-page document. The most important pages, I would say, are pages 1 and 2, your independent auditor's report. As discussed at the meetings, you had a clean audit report. Numbers presented were fairly presented. When we spoke at the committee meetings, I encouraged everybody to read management's discussion and analysis. Management's discussion and analysis is on pages 3 through 14. This will give everybody a synopsis of all 70 pages of the audit report and how the district ended up. If you're going to look at anything else in the audit report, I would suggest everybody go to page 50. Page 50 is your budgetary comparison schedule. Your budgetary comparison schedule outlines what was budgeted for the year and how you ended up with that budgeted number compared to actual. So when you look at the budget to actual schedule, you'll see that your revenues were right on budget. There was a dip in the revenues towards the end of the year related to COVID. You're also going to see that your expenditures were under budget because of the COVID situation, but there is something on the board agenda tonight to take those savings to kind of address any type of COVID contingencies and expenditures that you anticipate to have not only this year, but going forward. So that's a good idea. So at the end of the day, when you take into account, you budgeted to use about $1 million of fund balance, you added $5 million of fund balance. So you have beginning fund balance of 27.5 million. You ended the year at 32.6. There's various commitments to keep you within the 8% for PDE, and to get you within that 8% for PDE, the board's taking the board action tonight to do a one-time commitment for non-recurring expenditures for COVID-related expenditures, not only incurred this year, but into the following year. Also, we spend a lot of time just recently within the Capital Projects Fund. The district has a very substantial capital project, renovation projects going on, including the building of the new Colonial Middle School, renovations at the high school, renovations at the elementary school. So we're spending a lot of time within this fund. In addition, the district has been able to take advantage of substantial refunding opportunities in the past couple of years because of the change in the market, and as they've been able to save substantial money there. So if you look at page 57, it breaks out your 2 capital projects fund. You have a reserve fund, which is made up of money transfers from the general fund. And then you have your capital projects fund, which is accounting for primarily now the proceeds related to the new Colonial Middle School. So also, I just want to point out too, you also have a food service fund. The food service fund, if you remember, when you went into the COVID shutdown, you were required by law to pay all your employees. So you did have a loss within your food service fund, but unlike some other districts that had to transfer over money from the general fund to cover these losses, the Colonial School District had a very strong food service fund and was able to absorb these losses in the June 30th school year. And then also within the food service fund or the proprietary funds, there's an internal service fund, which accounts for your participation in the Bucksmont Consortium. And if you look at that, you have an increase in your reserve there. We spoke about this at the committee meetings. When the COVID hit, things shut down, people weren't getting medical procedures. So there was an increase in your reserves there But I imagine if we look at 2021, once things started to open up, though people started getting procedures and starting to make use of that reserve. So, and that's it. That's my 10,000 overview.
Thank you very much, Carl. It was definitely a year that was affected by the pandemic, and the next agenda item, we'll discuss it in more depth, what we're going to do with the surplus that was achieved because of the pandemic.
And the last thing I want to point out, I can't forget this. I just want the board to know this is our, second year doing the audit. I know you had a long-term audit before, and just like your previous auditor, there are no issues related to any kind of findings. There are proper segregation of duties related to internal controls, and the audit process went smooth in general, in spite of the pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Carl. And Dave, does anyone have any other questions for either Carl or Dave, or any comments on the audit? All right, all in favor? Raise your hand, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Adam, fund balance commitment.
Yes, this is item B. It is a motion to commit, one second, to commit 6 million of the current unassigned fund balance for the purpose of pandemic contingency. And just to sort of go into a little more detail on this, based on the results of the 2019-2020 fiscal year, which produced a surplus of 5.23 million as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and due to the ongoing and future impact of the pandemic on the local economy, the board discussed the commitment of 6 million in unassigned fund balance for the stated purpose of pandemic contingency. Approximately 3 million of this committed fund balance has been identified for use in the 2020-2021 fiscal year.
Are there any, so that's a motion, Adam, right?
Yes, that is a motion.
Is there a second?
Chris Epstein, second.
Eunice, thank you. And any comments or questions from the board?
Yes. Mr. Zablosky, can you just please clarify for, that's a lot of dollars, and to members of the public, seeing $6 million being, committed from the unassigned fund balance. Can you just speak to where that's coming from? What our unassigned fund balance will then look like after we make this move? And just, again, it can be very top line, but give a little bit more of an explanation. I'd appreciate it.
Sure. As Mr. Hogan said, our revenue came in right on budget because most of the school district's revenues come in the first half of the year pre-pandemic. But we had several positive variances in our expenditures because of the pandemic. Our wages weren't as high. We didn't pay for contracted transportation because we weren't busing kids, and then several other issues that caused favorable variances, which is why we're showing the surplus of $5.25 million. That money always clears out through the unassigned fund balance. And based on legislation put into effect by the Pennsylvania legislators about a decade ago, there is a limitation to how much you can retain in the unassigned fund balance of 8% based on the size of our budget. So due to that, and to keep it at 8%, we are recommending to the board that we commit this $6 million to a category called pandemic contingency. And we already know that 3 million of that's going to be used for the current year that we're in. And the reason we did that is, we were looking at exceeding the Act 1 index and raising taxes above the index using exceptions. And the board, during the budget development, decided to use some of the surplus we were projecting to have in the 1920 year to soften the blow of tax increases on our taxpayers. So half of that's already spoken for. Now, who knows how long this pandemic is going to stick around, how long the effects of the pandemic are going to have on the local economy. And that's why there will be $3 million remaining at the end of next year, which we will take into consideration when we're building the 21-22 budget.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And Dave, that could be used for anything from, from additional PPE, protective measures, additional staffing needs if we need them, or even, going forward if there are issues with finances because of the the delayed effects of the pandemic on the local economy, on real estate values, et cetera, that could help us stabilize some of those effects as well.
Exactly. That's why we're naming it a very broad pandemic contingency, that it can be used for anything that could have, the pandemic could have affected, from our business operations to the local economy. Maybe our revenue doesn't show up this year like it did last year. So we would need that money to sort of make ends meet.
Great. And I just want to thank Dave and Mark Dejan and his team for their really hard work through the audit process and through handling all of the financial impacts of the pandemic. I mean, it certainly has been unprecedented. The economic effects are unprecedented. And, it certainly, while, it is always good to have a surplus that you can invest, this is not the kind of surplus you don't want a surplus for this reason. I mean, we have it because of COVID, but certainly, we would much rather there had been no COVID and there was no COVID, and we sort of spent the money we had budgeted. But that's just unfortunately not the reality we live in.
Are there any other comments or questions on this item? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great, thank you. Chris Epstein, board policy revisions.
Sure. Motion to approve the revisions to the board policies outlined below on a second read basis. Policy 113.1, discipline of students with disabilities. Policy 705, facilities and workplace safety. And policy 815, acceptable use of internet, computers, and network resources.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Kathy Peduzzi.
And any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. Beth Petruno, Educational Services Contract.
This is a motion to approve the special educational service contract for the 2020-21 school year as outlined below. The Elwyn Davidson School one-to-one services for 2 students at a rate of $180.60 per day per student. And also for Quinn Developmental Services, behavioral specialist at $95 an hour early rate and $100 an hour standard rate. Also for behavioral consultant assistant at $75 early rate and $80 standard rate. And a field specialist at $33 an hour early rate and $36 an hour standard rate. And that's a motion.
Is there a second? Kathy Peduzzi, thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. Adam, back to you for assessment appeals.
So I think I have one more.
The agreement in lieu of FAPE.
Correct. This is a motion to approve 2 agreements in lieu of vape due to student confidentiality. These agreements were reviewed in the executive session prior to this meeting.
Is there a second? Rosemary? Any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, now Adam, your turn.
So this is a motion to approve agenda items F through M. These are all stipulations to settle assessment appeals for various parcels in Plymouth and White Marsh Townships. I'm going to just move to approve those items F through M as presented.
Second?
I'm wondering if you should just read them so that anyone who doesn't have the agenda in front of them will know.
Sure, I can certainly do that.
The title, take them in separate votes.
That's fine with me. F is a motion, is a stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 490011983001 located at 510 Township Line Road in Plymouth Township. G is the approval of a stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 490000550013 located at 1198 Belvoir Road in Plymouth Township. H is to approve the stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 490004128008 located at 498 West Germantown Pike in Plymouth Township. I is to approve the stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 650010658032 located at 7000 Butler Pike in White Marsh Township, including a 3-year moratorium on assessment appeals by either party. J is to approve the stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 490000012111 located at 401 Allenwood Road in Plymouth Township. K is to approve the stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 650009754009 located at 210 West Ridge Pike in White Marsh Township. L is to approve the stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 490010123007 located at 1200 Ridge Pike in Plymouth Township. And M is to approve the stipulation to settle the assessment appeal of property 490003889508 located at 2050 Chemical Road in Plymouth Township.
I just wanted to hear you read all those numbers, Adam.
Happy to do it.
Is there a second?
Chris Epstein.
Second. Chris
Thanks.
Epstein.
Any questions or comments?
I just want to thank Dave and his team and our attorneys for their hard work. This is a lot of stipulations at one time. So I know folks were working hard to get all of these done.
Great, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, great, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Eunice Franklin Becker as one of Colonial School District's representatives to the Central Montgomery County Technical High Schools Joint Operating Committee for a 3-year term. The Joint Operating Committee consists of 3 members appointed from each of the sending or participating school districts, being Colonial, Norristown, and Upper Merion. Eunice is currently on the board, and this would be for another term. Is there a second to that motion?
Chris Epstein, second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I know Eunice loves her position at the tech school and does a nice job there, so.
Thank you. If I can just say, the tech school is a jewel. It serves our students incredibly well. It builds relationships with our neighbors, and it sets students up for wonderful careers. And so it's truly a joy to be part of that organization. And we're very lucky to have it, and luckier to have it as such a close neighbor to our middle school and within the boundaries of our school district.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, congratulations, Eunice.
Thank you.
Beth Sutland, Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay, bear with me. I forgot my glasses, so I'm sorry if I screw this up.
Just hold it out farther.
Okay, this is a motion to approve it's bad. The administration's recommendation of the memorandum of understanding dated November 19th, 2020 between the Colonial Education Association and the Colonial Board of School Directors regarding additional online courses through August 14th, 2021. And I'll just explain that what we're doing is instead of allowing our bargaining unit that's part of that contract to take 2 online courses, given that most schools are completely virtual, we're acknowledging that and allowing those folks to take 4 up through August 14th, 2021. And that is a motion.
Is there a second? Kathy Peduzzi. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Great. Beth, one more.
Yep, and then similarly, this is the same issue, but for a different bargaining unit with the district. Motion to approve the administration's recommendation of the memorandum of understanding dated November 19th, 2020 between the Colonial Education Support Professionals and the Colonial Board of School Directors regarding additional online courses through June 30th, 2021. And the difference in the date is that they have different ends to their collective bargaining agreements. And that is a motion.
Great, thank you. Second. Adam, thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. And one more, Beth.
Yep. Okay. So as we all acknowledged earlier, Mr. Sherman is leaving us for some sunny, warm state to do some fishing. And as we look to try and fill his shoes, which will not be done, but we need some help in the meantime. This is a motion to approve the proposal from Trapani. Okay, thank you. Communications to provide the district public relations and communication support as needed as we go through the transition. And that is a motion.
Do I have a second? Beth Petrino, thank you. Any comments or questions on this? And Dr. Christian, this is to fill any needs that we have until we get someone new on board, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're paying this at an hourly rate.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Good thing we have nothing to communicate these days, though. So we should be fine. We should be fine. Yeah, it's all smooth sailing.
We won't need to use them one bit.
Thanks, Dave.
We're coming to visit you, Dave. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. All right, solicitors report.
I have no report.
I don't know anyone who's, Mike, Dr. Christian, is the other thing that we eliminated for tonight on the public agenda, or is it gone?
I took it off.
Okay, great, thank you. Solicitors report.
I thought I said it, but I have no report.
All right, well, you got to say it twice. Thank you.
Okay, I feel good about it. Thank you.
Good. Committee reports, community relations, student life, safety, and wellness. Mrs. Northcutt.
Yes, the committee met on November 9th. Dr. Christian gave us an overview of communications regarding COVID, went over the dashboard that is up on the website and the kinds of letters that are being sent to all members of the Colonial community, as well as letters that go to individual schools, giving updates to families. Mr. R.J. Bretz, athletic director, gave us an update on current sports and activities and the planning for winter sports and activities. As always, Suburban One League is having discussions, and final decisions will be impacted by the current state of infections within the community, the county at large. Laurie McCoy, Director of Food Services, gave us a meal service update and described how meals are being provided, sent home for students in the hybrid and virtual models. Counseling Services, Karen Burke, Director of Pupil Services and Special Education, went over the various services that are available for families. A recommendation, a reference can be made, and parents can directly request assistance through their school counselors or to specific organizations that are listed on the website. We learned that Wonder Spring is continuing to offer childcare programs in district buildings, providing pre and after school care. And as of the 11/9 date, there were still some openings in Wonder Spring. And Dr. Christian, I don't know how the move to fully virtual will impact Wonder Spring. I don't know if you have an update on that.
So we'll not be able to provide the buildings during the 2-week move to full remote learning, and we communicated that to Wonder Spring.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Rosemary. Curriculum, Beth Petruno.
The curriculum committee also met on November 9th. Mrs. Grigaitis, the curriculum supervisors and principals shared highlights from their school improvement summaries from the 2019-2020 school year, so last school year. And then Mr. James and Dr. Giovanisi presented information on 2 new courses that are being developed for our next school year. One is Gender and Identity, an Untold Story of American History, and the other is African American Studies, a Sociocultural Exploration. And then Mr. Bogley updated us on our Chromebook and our distribution process that is being rolled out with one-to-one devices. It began with our 5th grade students and our 9th grade students. And there will not be a curriculum committee meeting in December. They'll resume again in January. So we will look forward to getting those dates out to everyone. That concludes my report.
Great, thank you. Ms. Duzzi, Facilities and Transportation.
Yes, we met on November 2nd and got a lovely State of the Union report from James Lynch. And some of the highlights of what he shared was how they were preparing for the construction to be happening at the same time our students were coming back to campus, making sure that that was seamless and that there were not any hindrances upon our students or our cars and buses coming in and out. He also thanked the neighbors in the community for their participation with the project. He received phone calls and texts from neighbors regarding site conditions and operations, and he responds as quickly as possible with immediate actions to correct the noted conditions to minimize all of the potential disturbances. So that's been it seems to have been, a really good relationship there. Mr. Lynch also spoke about the project being on schedule at this time and the actual process of moving into the new building and all the activities that are required for that to happen. And then regarding the construction budget, there's only been one change order to date. So the overall budget is holding with a solid amount of contingency, having gone through 12 months of construction. So that is promising news. Another thing we discussed was facility rentals and attendance guidelines. We have so many community members who are looking for gym space and field space and this, that, and the other. But Dr. Christian so perfectly stated, we're focusing on trying to open up for our scholastic athletes for high school and middle school. So once we can figure out, now with different things happening for the winter, once we can get our health and safety plans in order, that would be when we could even possibly consider those types of things. And then the last item that I wanted to bring up that we talked about at the meeting was a revision to policy 826, which is the responsible contractor policy. Ms. Epstein discussed the recommended changes to the policy that were previously discussed at policy meetings. And the board had asked that the solicitor review it and provide their recommendations. So we're waiting for feedback on that. before we can bring it to the board for an official first read. And that is all I have.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Finance, Adam.
No report this evening. We covered it on the agenda.
Adam? Okay, Human Resources, Beth.
No report. Dr. Rodriguez and her staff are just keeping busy daily, trying to keep track of all these different cases and make sure that our classrooms are staffed adequately for our kids. And I just want to thank her again and everybody who's working on that. They've done a tremendous job. That is my report.
Great, thank you. Policy, Mrs. Epstein.
Sure. So as Kathy just mentioned in her Facilities Committee report, we are in the process of amending Policy 826, the Responsible Contractor Policy. It's currently under the review of our solicitor, Fox Rothschild, and will be discussed again at our next policy meeting on December the 14th at 6 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Eunice.
So the tech school last met on November the 4th. Operations continue to be very successful there with the cohort model of juniors and seniors coming in one day a week and having all of their in-person education consolidated into a single day, and then supplemented by virtual, and then our newer students doing fully virtual during this time. Continues to go very well. We continue to have very high rates of participation. I want to commend Mr. Schramm and all of the leadership and the staff at the tech school, because even with all of this, they continue to look forward and look at new ways to enhance our programming at the tech school, to make sure that it's sensitive to the kinds of careers that are growing for our students. So we continue to address those issues, and they also continue to do some wonderfully innovative work on diversity and inclusion, and they're beginning to roll out programs that can actually help generate revenue with local organizations such as the Upper Merion Police Department. So we commend them for all of their innovative work and their ongoing wonderful service to our students. Our next meeting will be December the 16th. It's later than it would normally be in December because all of the sending districts need to have their reorganization meetings before we can proceed with our reorganization meeting for the tech school. So look for that on December 16th. And again, those meetings are public and broadcast as these are, and we welcome everyone to attend. That's my report.
Thank you. Jen, Intermediate Unit.
Yeah. The IU received a Keystone Telepresence Education Grant for $25,000 to buy more in-class iRobots. And these robots, kids that haven't been in school for a long period of time for health reasons, can control the robots from their iPads at home. And the robot goes through the building and in the classroom, and the kids can get a view of what's happening in the buildings. Also, the Bluebell Rotary Club donated $4,500 for technology to go where there's the greatest need, and their goal is to donate $50,000. And there's a webinar called The Elephant in the Room, which focuses on identifying hidden warning signs for students for suicide. And it includes strategies, monitoring behavior virtually, because of COVID. So that takes place December 9th at 8:30 a.m. That's it.
Thank you, Jen. Legislative, Kathy.
Yes, some sort of, I think it's good news. I would hope everybody agrees. But the Senate Rules Committee amended Senate Bill 1216 yesterday and moved it to the full Senate for a unanimous passage. So it's going to go to the House for concurrence on the new amendments. But so here's some of the highlights. The Keystone exams as a state or local graduation requirement shall be delayed until 2022 to 2023. Again, this is pending the House approving it, but it's extremely likely that that will happen. Special Education Funding Commission shall be reconstituted, and there'll be a new report no later than June of 2021. That's also extremely important. Career and tech exams There's some flexibility with that as well. The Secretary of Education may waive the NIMS assessment and the NOCTI exam, et cetera, et cetera. And then also the PSSAs, it permits, this does not waive it, it permits the PDE to apply to the U.S. Department of Education for a waiver of testing. If the United States Department of Education offers that ability for this school year. So I guess we have to wait to see what happens with that. But it's going to be in here so that we could have the ability to do that, which is great. Other things, and then non-public transportation. So regardless of whether the school district is transporting its own students or is virtual for the 2021 school year, if transportation was provided last year for non-public students, then the school district must provide that. We have been doing that in Colonial, but so that's obviously for other people across the state, but we would no longer have the option. We would be mandated to provide those public school students for transportation. That's all I got.
Thanks, Kathy. Municipal, does anyone have a municipal or community report?
I do for Conshohocken. Conshohocken invites all to join in our celebration of the upcoming holidays of light. Take a walk at dusk or drive by Marywood Park to enjoy the lights sparkling through the trees. A virtual tree lighting video will be released on November 27th. The date for the virtual menorah lighting will be shared soon. Conshohocken won't be able to host its usual holiday luncheons for the senior citizens of our community this year because of COVID, but the borough will be showing its appreciation for our seniors in a different way. On December 2nd, those seniors who have registered will be able to pick up a holiday in a bag from 10 a.m. till noon at the Fellowship House, a bag filled with goodies, care items, and more compliments of Borough Council. Registration is required and will end on November 25th. To register, call the community center, or you can use their website to sign in and register. Thank you.
Great. Rosemary, anything on the Colonial School District Education Foundation?
Yes. We are so thrilled. It's time to share the love with Subaru of America Incorporated and John Kennedy Subaru. The Colonial School District Education Foundation is proud to have been selected as the only hometown charity for the 2020-2021 giving season. Every Subaru purchased through John Kennedy, a donation from Subaru can be made to the foundation. $250 donation per vehicle. Another $50 will be then donated by the dealership. Last year, over $40,000 was raised for the foundation through this relationship with Subaru and John Kennedy. Share the Love runs from today through January 4th. And also, we just would like to remind everyone that if you are ordering anything from Amazon, you can have a percentage of your purchase come back to the students in the Colonial School District through the Colonial School District Education Foundation. You go through Amazon Smile to make the CSDEF your charity of choice. And then when you place your order, you go through Amazon Smile. It is fun. You will get, you can just check on a regular basis to see what amount has been donated to the foundation through your purchases. Thank you.
Great, thank you. There's some informational items in the board docs on school activity accounts, athletic activity account, building reports, curriculum instruction, and assessment reports. Are there any other comments? Well, we'll do public comments first. Mr. Sherman, do we have any written ones?
We do not have any comments on email.
Okay, and Mr. Bogley, do we have people waiting in the queue to ask questions or make comments?
We have 31 attendees waiting, but no hands are raised for comments.
Okay, do any board members wish to make a comment or administrators?
Yeah, I just think it would, I mean, I know Dr. Christian read his letter, which I thought was wonderfully communicative and really shared a lot of your thoughts. I can't imagine all of your thoughts are in there because you have so many of them. but just want to make sure that everybody understands what the next steps are. I know you said Montgomery County Office of Public Health is meeting again on the 2nd. So if you can maybe just speak to everybody about that, like what would happen at that meeting? At what point do we have to make any decisions? I know you touched on this already, but if you can just reiterate, that would be great.
Sure. I think it'll be a local decision for school districts, based upon what I've heard from Harrisburg and based on what I'm hearing in the county, and the surrounding 4 counties around Philadelphia. Local districts will make decisions to move back to hybrid or whatever their instructional model is. I don't anticipate the Board of Health, and I could be wrong. I just don't anticipate any further action from them. I think on December 1st, we'll have, things change so rapidly in the last 2 weeks. It's good to have the most recent information. So when we meet on the 1st of December after the Thanksgiving holiday, it'll be critical to have the incident rate, the positivity rate, because the projections are not great. However, I think we've done a very fine job, as I mentioned earlier, isolating situations, and no situation is perfect. But it'll be a local board decision, I think, for all the school districts in the area on how to move forward. My goal is to offer hybrid again as of December 7th.
And we'll be able to have that conversation on the 1st.
We have the reorganization, and then we have to have a special board meeting after that, or regular business meeting after that, because so the public knows school boards meet they have to meet the first week of December. All 500 districts have to do that to reorganize, and then you can have a business meeting after that. And we'll review our athletic health and safety plan, and then also look at our reopening plan.
Okay. So parents know that December 1st is when we will be able to.
Yep. And I'll send a communication out tomorrow about that.
Would you Dr. Christian, would you like a refill of your tea leaves so you can practice reading them?
Absolutely.
Dr. Christian, I understand that Erin Solino has her hand up.
I was waiting to see if there's any more board questions that we're going to acknowledge Mrs. Salino. Go ahead, Erin. Or Drew's going to activate your mic, I think.
Yeah.
Please take.
Okay, I'm unmuted. So it's Erin Selena from Plymouth Township.
Good.
So a little while ago, I think I saw an article in the Patch, and it said that Valor Kush, who's one of the Monco supervisors, had mentioned she had commented on staffing in Montgomery County as a big issue, with school bus drivers and with teachers. And I think we've known from the beginning that staffing was the biggest driver, I think, for going virtual, along with obviously the safety. But it was concerning, I think, to a lot of parents that the commissioner was talking about staffing in relation to closing the schools with the Board of Health. Do you guys have any comment on the commissioner talking about staffing in relation to this decision?
I think staffing is going to be a challenge for all school districts moving forward, and it could hit different districts at different times. One of our neighboring districts had an outbreak in their bus depot, and therefore they were not able to supply transportation, which became an equity issue for their school district, and therefore they moved to all remote earlier than what the Board of Health recommended. Another school district in Montgomery County had several cases among their staff, and they were not able to operate on a functional basis to have supervision because in the past month and a half to 2 months, the subs have been completely, not completely, but many of the subs have been drained from the different sub-agencies that supply them. So I think it's a concern, Erin, moving forward for many districts.
So, I mean, because I think what was most concerning also was the fact that they did it like unilaterally throughout the whole county, as opposed to letting the districts make decisions on their own again. That concerned people, and it wasn't, I mean, Philadelphia was virtual the whole time, but Bucks didn't change, and neither did Delaware County. So a lot of parents are concerned that if they made this decision for 2 weeks, and personally, I'm fine with 2 weeks around Thanksgiving. I get that. But we're concerned that it's going to go past the 2 weeks and then turn into like maybe past January to come back. And a lot of the kids, I mean, my kids are flourishing personally in hybrid. They love going to school and they do really well in it. And I know a lot of kids, especially those who have learning disabilities or they do well in that environment. And there's been very little evidence that it's been transmitted in the school. Sorry, my dogs are barking. But yeah, so I think that's what like a lot of parents are concerned about, and they were taken aback by this decision that the county at the county level, and then for them to mention staffing as the concern as opposed to the safety, especially since the CDC came out today saying that K through 12 should be in school. The Governor Wolf, along with the other governors, I think it was New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, all said they should all be in school. And the CHOP, not the policy lab, which is separate, also had been advocating for kids to be in school. So it seemed kind of contraindicatory of what, was recommended. So that's basically it. So thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
So Erin, I would just like to talk about that a little bit more. And I personally didn't know the Department of Health could shut us down like that, and all the activities and everything that, and I think that a lot of people were taken aback by that, Erin. But, when Dr. Arkush talked about staffing, as you said, that has been a primary driver, and it does go hand in hand with safety, right? It's if the people in the building are healthy and if the kids are healthy. But what I do ask everybody to remember is, and we had this happen early on in the high school, we really are probably looking at a situation where, there could be a minor outbreak and we go virtual for a week, right? And then we have to go back and forth. And I think we knew that going all along. And I hope that the community is getting, not that any of us like this. I sure as heck don't like this. I'm on my second year of a second senior watching it all go down the tube. But it's reality. And so I'm asking the community to recognize that if we have to do that, if you heard Dr. Christian, it's not done lightly, but this is what we have to do to be safe and to make sure that everybody stays as healthy as they can.
And I would just like to add, as a follow-up to both Erin and Beth, I think that I know that our administration, our principals, our assistant principals, our district office people, our teachers, our support staff, everyone, our facilities people, our secretaries and administrative assistants, everyone has worked so hard in a very changing environment to do the very best they can for our students. And everyone, I think, on the board and in the community is so appreciative of all the effort and time that everybody's put in. And we understand that these are scary times for all of us, and we appreciate greatly what everyone has done. And hope we can continue to offer both the hybrid and the virtual moving forward. And as Beth said, we may be in and out. Might be a week here in one building that we have to shut down, but we will certainly always aim to have our kids in the building as much as we can. Everybody knows that's the best way to educate, and we know that. So
and special kudos to the teachers, because, and I know you just said all the staff and principals and yes, and teachers, but the teachers being able to be flexible with teaching in person, online, back and forth, both at the same time, lesson planning for both, managing all this technology. It is something that I don't think any teacher in the world, when they signed up to be a teacher, thought that this is what life would be like. But it's also not what any of us thought our lives would look like. But for teachers to have such a huge, huge responsibility, and for our teachers to be jumping in with both feet and loving their students and working so hard for them, I just want to say thank you. It's not going unnoticed. I hear so many parents recognizing how awesome their teachers are. So many.
And doing it really well. I think everyone's appreciative of all that everyone's doing. So Hopefully, we all do the best we can to keep everybody safe, and hopefully our kids can stay in school. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.